Hey you guys, welcome back to the channel. And today we're actually getting into another knife review. Now you guys know recently I jumped into the space of knives in terms of my EDC and going in that direction. I purchased my first Civivi knife, and which was also my first new or like more recent knife purchase to introduce myself into the EDC knife world of the current times. So I mentioned in a previous video that I've had knives in the past, but I never really EDC'd them. And they were old school knives and whatnot. So this is my first kind of foray into modern knives. And with the Civivi that I had, the Mini Praxis, I was using it. Let me just bring that into frame here. I was wearing this on a daily basis for the last like maybe 2 weeks, week and a half, maybe 2 weeks. And I really did enjoy it for the small size of it, fitting in my fifth pocket. I feel like it's the perfect space for someone who is maybe not a heavy knife user or carrier, and you want to be very inconspicuous, but also not kind of weigh you down. The size of that knife and any knife that will be comparable in size to that, because I recently also reviewed the Kaiser Nice Guy, which is the same size. Those type of knives fit great inside that pocket. But nonetheless, once I had purchased the Mini Praxis, the bug kind of got the best of me. I started looking up other knives. It kind of got to me, and all of a sudden I wanted to buy a couple knives. And not go overboard, but I purchased this and I have another one on the way from Civivi. And after the purchase of the Mini Praxis is when I also purchased the Nice Guy, which I did the review of and comparison. So this one right here, sorry for that stretching out so long, is, see, the name should be, just the name on the box. The name is, okay, there it goes, I'm sorry. The name is the Civivi Hyperpulse. Now, as far as Civivi goes in their tiers, I did a video about the materials and this and that, and most of knives in general, kind of little like breakdown of just things, as I did the updated review on the Mini Praxis. And so this kind of falls into that realm of, for those who are not in the know, because for those who are in the know, you know, you can fast forward if you want, whatever the case is. But pretty much you have something like the Civivi Mini Praxis is $30. Then you'll have something that adds different materials. Maybe instead of having G10 scales, you might have micarta scales, which is next level going up. Then you might have aluminum, which is next level going up after that. And in terms of blade steels, you know, you will have things like Nitro V, which is considered a little bit better than D2, at least the way it's framed in terms of the pricing. And then this one is actually going to come with 14C28N, which I don't know if it's better than D2, but I heard people say that they believe it's better than D2. I don't know if it's better than Nitro either, but this, the cost is, the link's going to be in the description for Amazon. It cost about $65. $65 or $70, which brings it into a price range. No, this is either 70 or 75. I'm not sure, but link's gonna be in the description. It brings it to a price range where, even though it's using the 14C28N steel, which I don't know if that's considered better than Nitro V or not, it's on a more expensive setup. So maybe it is. But anyway, let's get into the unboxing. I rambled on way too long as it is. I am sorry for that, but I'm just new to this space and just kind of want to give a little bit of background. Now, obviously the standard Civivi packaging that we've seen from my last unboxing of my only other Civivi. So you get the standard stuff, and I really like that it comes with all this. Granted, I know once you probably have a few of these, it's going to become redundant, but nonetheless, your warranty and product use information, just kind of extra little swag and advertisement. This right here just kind of shows you some of the different knives. And like I said, after a while, you purchasing these things, it starts to become redundant, but nonetheless, you can pause and read some of these for yourself. Little sticker or whatever the case is. What's interesting is this is different than the other one that I had, sticker that it came with. I don't know which knife this is though, as the other one was Elementum on the previous one. And this one, I have no clue what that is actually. So, and here goes the Hyperpulse. I'm actually quite excited about this. I'm gonna throw all these back in. And the only thing I'm going to keep out is the microfiber cloth. Zip this up. Now you could, this is a great case just to keep your things stored in. Unless you are using it almost every day, then at that point, you're probably not gonna do that. And we're just gonna throw this down and get into this. Now, it's aluminum, it feels nice. It's funny because I got used to the G10 scales and I really like it. I like the color, I like the way it looks, the patterns. But apparently from the way that the pricing goes, aluminum's considered a more premium material and it goes up in price relative to that. Now this is a bigger knife. I just want to bring the Mini Praxis into frame just so you can get an idea of that. It is bigger. It's maybe about a ½ inch longer and maybe a little bit more than a ½ inch longer. And with that being the case, when the blade comes out, the blade is also about a ½ inch longer. So at that point, you're looking at maybe about a full inch or an inch and a half bigger than the Civivi Mini Praxis. It may be closer in comparison to the regular Praxis. So this is my first button lock, and that's one of the things that made me very interested in it. It definitely looks very nice. It looks premium. Here you have the clip. Now, what's interesting is some of the older models, like say, for example, the regular Praxis has an older style clip that is more skeletonized. So a lot of the ones that you see where the clip is a full solid piece and not skeletonized throughout are a sign that it's one of the more newer knives. There you have your lanyard loop to go around that piece. So, you know, it's not a hole, but you know, you're able to put a lanyard around that. And we're gonna try to look in the inside of it in a few after I open it up. Now you have the flipper and you also have the thumb deployment. So you have both ways. The branding of the C, which looks like it's aluminum all over there because the one on the Mini Praxis was just all black. Yep, so let's just get into flipping it out. Oh, well, before we get to that, you can see here some of the decorations on it. You have these three holes here. You got these three here, the small ones and the larger ones, and these two back here, which really go hand in hand for this being a double dual-sided clip, so you can switch sides for the clip, which is nice. They say it's, I don't know if you would count this as a deep carry or not, as the term goes when it comes to the pocket clip, because the angle of the end of the handle doesn't really, some of this is going to be sticking up, so you could say it's in between, I guess. So let's see how the flipper feels. It felt smooth. I got to get used to using a button to draw it back in, and I think that I'm hoping that they get smoother over time because it feels like a very deep button press. So far, it doesn't feel like it's just dropping on its own, but I will say with my Mini Praxis, just even drawing the blade out felt smoother over time. So that might be a thing. Now let's try deploying with the thumb stud. I got to get used to it. I've seen people who do it so smooth, and maybe it's just me and not the blade, or maybe it just got to get worn in. I'm not really too sure. But this steel right here is 14C28N. I don't know where that falls in the whole scheme of things, but I know it's comparable to the D2 Nitro V steel. It's within that ballpark range. I don't know if it's considered better than them because this knife is a little more expensive than the knives that I've seen that come with those types. But nonetheless, it's not like a super expensive knife, so it doesn't, you know, that might still be comparable. There goes the blade You can see it right there, the Blade Steel name on there. And I like that they do that for those who aren't in the know. That way they would just know that that's the blade material. The aluminum feels very light but sturdy. I thought this was gonna feel more slippery or feel like, you know, less textured because of the G10s feel nice. But this still feels good because it feels like it's a satin feel to it, so it doesn't feel that smooth. And I guess maybe with the holes actually give it some kind of texture, and the fact that this kind of really aligns well with your fingers, so it does feel very nice. I don't feel like as if it's uncomfortable, and I'm glad that where you would hold it is not where the button is, so you don't have to worry about that. Excuse me. One thing that I noticed that I have to get used to too is when I press the button and the flipper comes back around, getting used to not having your finger there to knock the flipper, so that way it won't actually, you know, knock it back out of place. And you see here, if you can catch it right, even when it's on that angle, it could go right back into its space. So like I said, you got the both ways to do it, the thumb stud or the flipper. I really like it. This is my, I guess you could say, mid-tier. For me, it's premium. My first premium knife of me getting into things, and I really like it. It feels premium. It feels nice. I love the look of it too. There is the other colors. To be honest with you, I wasn't. There's a. I don't. What were the other colors? There was I think there's a bright silver one. I forget the other colors, but I know that this one was one of the ones that I really liked. I'm not sure if there's an all black, but yeah, this looks nice. It makes the whole thing just look like it's all just like a metal, where some of the other colors look like they could scratch or something like that. And I hope that this doesn't scratch. That's one thing I was kind of worried about with aluminum, is would it scratch off and then underneath it you'll see just a shiny metal, because this is all paint. So I'm not too familiar with knives to know that well enough. Another thing I want to take a look at real quick was the interior, and if it's got like framing on the inside. So it looks like it, I don't know if it does. You can see a little bit the outlining. If that's like a different metal on the inside, I'm not really too sure. Or since the whole thing's aluminum, does it make the whole frame of this aluminum? But anyway, you guys, comment down below what your thoughts are. I really like this knife. It is my first premium, or at least mid-tier, if you want to call it that, of this kind of new wave of knives, EDC carry. Matter of fact, I want to also test something first before I go. How much does this fit into my fifth pocket? And by putting it in my fifth pocket, it comes up to here, is sticking out. So if you got a long shirt, or you know, like a t-shirt over or whatever, or any kind of shirt, you should be fine. But at the same time, I don't imagine that to be as comfortable. Let me see when I sit down. Yes, it's not as comfortable as the Mini Praxis, so just something to be mindful of. But with that being said, you guys, like, share, comment, subscribe, and I will catch you guys in the next video.